Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Mayday Son, Get a Real Gun Gaming. And today we're going to be talking about why playing Airsoft in Japan will make you a better player. Now, as a disclaimer, first of all, I've only played this sport for about a year and a half. And I feel like I played it so much. I played almost every week for the last year and a half. And I think that gives me enough experience to kind of talk lightly on this topic. And it's something I've been thinking about over the past few days. Like, I've really gotten good at this game. Why is that? And what are some of the contributing factors to that? And actually, it's a lot of the limitations that are in the rules when you're playing Airsoft in Japan. There's a lot of movement restrictions. There's a lot of BB restrictions. There's a lot of player restrictions. And we'll talk about that. Let's just get right into it. So the first thing is that the main default game mode in Japan is flag sen and senmetsu sen. So flag sen being capture the flag, which is basically search and destroy two flags on the opposite side of the field, and you just gotta tap it to win. And the next one will be senmetsu sen, no flags, you're just killing each other, elimination. But the one thing in common with this is that you only have one life. Of course, this means that if you get shot in your gun, in your hair, in your toenail, whatever, you're done. You leave the field, you're done, right? So every mistake you make and every death you make is money down the toilet, right? And it's kind of the hard way to learn. It's kind of like playing Rainbow Six Siege, learning the hard way, getting destroyed, right? For the first 5 games, right? It makes you play your life, which also causes some behavior to change, right? So there's not a lot of people rushing around, right? There's more people camping. There's more people not wanting to move and not wanting to push. And that is some of the issues, not issues, but that is some of the things I've noticed when I play with Japanese players, that they don't want to push because there is a one life only, right? So this teaches you a few things that you have to kind of get on your get your chops up on, which would be keeping your gun up, right? Pieing corners, knowing when to push and to hold, learning to gather that intel, learning to communicate with your team, right? Knowing how to reload really quickly if you want to push on somebody, or if somebody's pushing on you, right? And learning how to play your life, right? And just gaining that courage. So it's kind of this tough love way to become better at the game overall. Now, the next one here is that in indoor fields, there are very rarely any rules that allow running or jump shotting or sprinting or sliding, right? You can't be running around like some kid named Caleb with that hip hop music in the back, the demo, HPAing people all day. You can't. HPA isn't even allowed most of the time. I think there's only 2 fields that I know of that allow HPA tap guns due to power creep. And that also comes in tandem with BB limits in some fields, but we'll talk about that later. But this will teach you to become more intentional with your movement, right? More intention with your positioning and moving from cover to cover, knowing what cover you can take relative to the angles around you, because you can't just outrun the BBs, and being able to take power positions and pieces of cover at a slower pace. So learning to clear on the go, right? If you are going to be moving that fast. And it's going to also evidently teach you to kind of get into this style of jiggle peek fighting and UAB style of peeking when you're playing against players in Japan indoors. Like I said before, Japanese players like to camp, right? Because of these movement restrictions and because of the one life game modes, right? So it's gonna force you to be aware of angles where they could be hiding, to learn the map, and encourage you to come to play to the field more often, right? And to learn how to push on them, whether you can take this angle or the other angle, and just building that intel. It'll also teach you, the skill of UAB, which is jiggle peeking, like jiggle peek fighting to win, and showing the least amount of your body because there isn't much movement you can do, right? And also the idea of winning the corner. So when you take someone's piece of cover, and then when you suppress them and you just hold that corner, that's going to be your chance to get them when they're jiggle peeking out. So there's a lot of these fundamentals that have to be really what am I trying to say? Have to be really high in order for you to succeed at this game. Because remember, if you die, you're wasting money and you lose, you don't get to play the game, right? And it can get really frustrating really quickly. Now, there's also limited ammo counts for indoor. So some fields, like one field I used to play at, which is Asobiba, they only allow 100 BBs per match, right? And most fields will allow you for 300 per match. We're talking about indoor, right? So sometimes these 300 BBs can be back to back, right? So you play one round and you play the next round right after, and that's 300 BBs for those 2 matches, not 300 each, right? So learning not to spray and pray becomes a necessity because you're going to run out of ammo, right? It will make you more intentional with your shots, right? I'll be playing games sometimes where, especially with my gas blowback rifle, where I probably use 10 shots the entire 2 rounds, right? Because you're just being super deliberate with that, right? Too, right? And you don't see people running around all the time anyway, so it's kind of hard to find them too, right? So, and of course, if you die right away, then you can't even play. So you save a lot of money on that. But because of these small, tight spaces of indoor CQB, you know, it'll teach you how to like reload quickly, right? Or reload in tight spaces from your plate or from your belt, right? And these are good skills to have when you're playing in CQB, you know, in Japan, right? If you ever want to finish a push on somebody and you're out of ammo, you got to reload that quick so you can push him. Or if someone's coming to you and they're going to try and get you, you got to have that reload on point, right? Not so much on fields where you have to walk, but a field like Black Fox or Kowloon where you're allowed to kind of run at a high speed, you really got to be on point with that. And I know you might say, let's use some high caps, just use high caps. But generally, CQB games in Japan are very quiet. There aren't people yelling like in American videos, or there isn't like BBs being shot all the time. There'll be moments of silence where you don't hear anything. So there's a lot of sound whoring that comes into play when you're playing. So having battle rattles is probably not a good idea. It's really good to switch to mid caps as soon as you can. And plus, it's more fun to reload, right? Of course, outdoors, you can run, jump, and slide. But the scale of the fields relative to how fast you can run basically makes it the same. But with outdoor, you can outrun BBs because, you know, 0.9 joules at distances over 20 meters. You might have a chance to be able to run across to a piece of cover. Unlike indoor, you're pretty much done if you get shot right away. So here we go. Lack of grenades, okay? So lack of grenades, especially flashbangs and tactical grenades. So in Japan, unless you're playing like a private game, you do have limitations on the grenades allowed per field, right? So first of all, there's no Moscat grenade launchers, not lots of grenade launchers. There are no flashbang grenades. I don't even think they make them, and there's no smoke grenades either. If you do use grenades, you're only allowed to use them about once per match. And you can basically only roll them or lob them below your waist. Like anything more than like a high arc that goes above your waist, you'll get called out for it. And I've gotten grenades banned because of that. And it doesn't even feel like you're throwing, you're not chucking them or anything like that. It's just that they're that strict about it. And I think it's because it's dangerous. You could hit someone in the head or something like that. So you don't get to have the advantage of clearing rooms or cheesing some guy camping in a corner because he has that he's just holding it so you can just throw a grenade at his feet. Can't do that most of the time. So, you know, this will teach you, you know, to do UAV peeking, to learn angles, to learn the map, and to learn how to suppress people and then push up on them. And it teaches you those skills instead of relying on grenades. Clearing rooms is pretty much a death trap. You just gotta wait for them to slip up and really learn how to pie that room. Or just rush in or whatever, waste your life, whatever, if you're just willing to YOLO it. But yeah, don't even think about, you know, chucking grenades across the map and using them to cheese people, because that's just not a thing here. Another thing that's not a thing here is actually strobing. Strobing on your flashlight is mostly not allowed. I've only been to one field, Black Fox, that allowed strobing, and I think that's just because that place is a try-hard place and they know what you're getting into. But due to, like, I guess some people, they told me, like, people can get epilepsy and stuff, who have epilepsy and stuff get caged, so they don't want to deal with that since airsoft is already a dangerous sport. I've never been allowed to do strobing. I don't do strobing that much anyway. There's also lumen limits on flashlights. Most of the time you can't go over 1,000. One field they played that only allowed 300, was basically useless. So this becomes you know, a hurdle for you to get over and to become better at your raw skill and not relying on flashlights to blind people and not relying on flashlights to strobe people, right? So having this limitation on flashlights will make you better at, you know, peeking and having good accuracy as well. Friendly fire. Friendly fire. Friendly fire in this country is so weird. But basically, friendly fire is a double out. So the person who shot your friendly and the friendly person who got shot, you're both out. And I know that sounds stupid. I've only been to one field ever that, like, if I friendlied somebody, they just die and I don't die. I feel like if anything, I should die, like reflected damage. But most of the time, it's double out. So you die and they die. So it kind of seems stupid. It's very punishing, but I think it forces you to practice, one, trigger discipline and safety manipulation. Actually, in CQB, I've kind of stopped doing safety manipulation because the engagements are just so tight and so fast sometimes that you don't really have that time. I guess you could just train for it. Outdoor, I'll do safety manipulation, but indoors, I won't. But being able to have that trigger discipline and not just shoot everything in your sight. When I first started playing, I friendlied so many times. Jeez, right? And most of the players, well, I guess in America or whatever, you'll like our parlay. I'm like, don't worry about it, bro. But here in Japan, they'll start walking out. You're like, I guess I got to walk out too, right? So the second one is that you have to really practice identifying targets and identifying friendlies before you engage them. And that could be a split-second decision, which means that guy could get away or shoot you. So you just got to be on top of it, of having that trigger discipline, having that safety manipulation, and being able to identify targets quickly without getting yourself killed. Remember, one life only, right? So this next one here is low power guns, okay, for AEGs and gas, and I guess springers too. But so the guns in Japan are like very, very weak in order to abide to the very strict gun laws here. So no, I can't go and get a real gun. I guess you could, but I'm a foreigner in Japan, so I can't get a real gun, okay? So you can't be engaging at crazy ranges like 30, 40 meters reliably. Most of the guns that I've used will start to drop off in accuracy about 30 meters consistently. So I'll just zero for 25, right? So having this shorter range and a shorter effective range encourages movement and flanking and positioning. So because of this low power as well, there's no bang bang rule. So you can't be running around like Caleb again with the HP8 tap and just going bang 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 bang, right? And that just becomes more confusing, to be honest. So you can shoot people point blank, no problem. You're fine. It's so weak. Unless you get shot at the skin, like super close in a weird ass angle, you're not going to be catching like blood wounds. You'll get bruises, but nothing crazy. We do have freeze call. So there is freeze call when you approach someone behind and you clearly have an advantage. Instead of shooting them in the back of their head, you can just be like freeze, and then they're done. But you can still shoot them in the foot or something, or whatever you want to do. That you won't get in trouble for that. There's also no green gas here or black gas or anything above duster gas. We use 134, HCA 134, and it's weak, bro. My MWS shoots at like 67 meters per second, which is like 260 FPS, I think. It's very weak, so that becomes another limitation, right? So you can't shoot that far, you can't shoot that fast, which means you have to change your playstyle and just move, like get somewhere closer and not just sit in a corner for 23 hours a day. Now, lastly, there are a lot of fields available in a small area. I live in Tokyo area, so there are lots of fields around me. I have a lot of outdoor fields I can go to, which are urban and also woodland. I have a lot of indoor fields that I can just go to that are barely even an hour away, right? Just taking the train. Sometimes, like, some places are just so convenient and so close, you can just go after work and just shoot for a couple hours and just, shoot the shit. And because of this ease of access to airsoft, it lets me play very often. And sometimes, I can just learn a map super quickly. And then I can just keep going back there and just master the map. So one time I've gone to Tenku so many times. I know what areas I can take. I know what areas I can't take and what I can do there. And in some places, like when I used to play Asobiba a lot, they kind of try to counter this by changing the map about every month or so. So you can't be just cheesing everybody by, knowing all the cheese areas and angles in, a particular map. So just having that ease of access and being able to affordably play quite often, it's about $40 to $50 a game. And that's enough for you to get a lot of practice in, and a lot of opportunities for you to just keep coming back to the field and to make your one life count. So I did this all in one take because I always do my videos all in one take, guys. I hope it wasn't too messy. I hope you enjoyed the B-roll in the back and all that fun stuff, guys. I hope you kind of learned something about airsoft and how you could become better at it in your country, or if you play in Japan, how you can become better in Japan. Let me know if you want more of these kind of videos, these kind of more insight videos of like maybe reviews of fields and stuff like that, or just the Japanese play style. I guess I covered it all already. Whatever. I make videos for me in it. So anyway, whatever, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. And remember, get a real gun, even if it's illegal in Japan. All right? Goddamn cringe little boy.